let's move on and consider some aids which are very useful. Now, I've mentioned a comfort monitor. As I'm shooting this, I have a screen down here, which is showing me what's on the screen you're seeing and also what's coming next. So that's a comfort monitor. That's how I know where I am. And I use that wherever I'm speaking, if I can. Different people have different aids that they prefer to use. But if you do use slides on a screen, then do try to make sure you have presenter view. And that's available for both Keynote and, of course, Microsoft PowerPoint. It's also a very good idea to have a timer, because one of the rudest things you can do is go over time. And if you don't have a timer, you have to have rehearsed your talk and know it like clockwork to make sure it's going to run to time. It's also not particularly good to be doing this on stage. So if you can have a timer that's available, and I have one on my presenter view, then you know exactly how long you've been taking and how long you've got left. Another great thing to do, if it's possible for you to do it, is to have a supporter of some kind. Now, if it's your room, you'll want to have a manager, a room manager, a room captain, whatever you want to call it, somebody who's actually in charge of the room out there, who's at the back. So everybody's looking at you. You're looking over them to your supporter, who's holding up things like great or 5 mins or don't forget this story or whatever it might be, or just at the back going, which is kind of nice to see once in a while. So a room captain or a supporter can be a really good thing to have out there. Now, some common errors. I'm sure you would never do any of these, but let's make sure you don't, shall we? The first and most common of all the errors is this one, where I'm looking at the screen and you're looking at my back. Now, why would you be interested in looking at my back? This is just rude. You can read the screen perfectly well. I can read the screen perfectly well. And if I've got a comfort monitor down here, I don't need to do that. It's absolutely forbidden, really, to turn around and start reading from the screen and show the people your back. A different thing entirely, if you're starting to say, here's this point, whatever it is, whichever way you're pointing and whichever way the screen is for you, that's absolutely fine. But notice if I'm doing that, then I'm going to be still looking at the audience and saying, here's an interesting thing to be paying attention to, this one. So I don't need to look round. I can see the comfort monitor. I'm looking at them. They're the people I'm talking to. So please don't speak to the screen. Don't read off the screen. And I would also suggest, really, don't read off a piece of paper. If you write a talk out completely word for word and stand at a lectern reading it, there's no contact with the audience at all. I've seen it done so many times. It really doesn't work very well. I've even seen great authors do it, and it doesn't work. Far better to do what I'm doing now, which is I know some bullet points. This one says, reading it, no eye contact. You can see that. I can see that. And I'm talking about it. Now, if I were reading this from a lectern, you'd pretty much have gone to sleep a long time ago, I think. There's just no life in that. When you write things down, that's written English. That's a different animal altogether from spoken, natural English. Speech is different. And it's much better to speak with speech. One pace throughout, that's not such a good idea. It's a good idea to vary the pace, to have breaks, exercises. And if you're going on for a very long time, get people to stand up, stretch, whatever it might be. Change state, change pace. Tics. Verbal tics, you know what I mean? If you say that all the time, know what I mean? And that one as well. If you can't think of what you're going to say, it does get rather irritating. So try to eliminate those. If you're not aware of them, record yourself, video yourself, and listen for them. And do try to eliminate them. You don't have to fill silences. There's no reason for these repeating tics in your speech. Physical tics can happen as well. I've seen many, many people who do this as they're speaking. And it's a little bit distracting. I mean, there's nothing overall, there's nothing wrong with physical tics particularly, except they're distracting. So you're starting to worry or wonder generally about when I'm going to rock to the other side. Is he going to stay there? No, there he goes again. And he's off again. And the same applies with, the walk of death where you walk around and round, on a spot for no particular reason, and you won't stay still, these kind of things. So just try to eliminate those. Leg jiggling, that's another one which can happen. Sometimes people are so nervous that their legs are actually trembling. I understand that, and it's very difficult. Maybe bend the legs slightly or maybe lock the knees to avoid that, but try and avoid these kind of things because they just put people off. Finally, the last two important ones. At the end of your speech, don't go over time. It's rude. Please. If you said I'm speaking for 20 minutes, please don't be half an hour. It's just inconsiderate to the people who've booked you. And don't rush off, Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you. And then you get some applause and you want to just stay there and a little bow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Then walk off. I've seen so many people who end their speech, thanks very much, and they're off. And the audience would clap, where do they go? And again, that's quite rude when people want to give you some affirmation. One book which I strongly recommend to anybody who uses slides in their presentations, Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds. I'm not on commission. I love that book, and it's fantastic. Revolutionised the way I use slides. He's very much against bullet points, reading off slides and so forth. Some of the stuff I've been saying absolutely aligned with him. Great book. I do recommend that you get that.